there were two times we were in the Statue of Liberty. One time in 1971, brothers from the East Coast decried the Hanoi Haiphong Harbor Christmas bombings and the bombing and targeting of civilian areas, including hospitals, schools, and churches, and synagogues, and whatever kind of structures existed in those two towns. And once again in 1975, when the Veterans Administration, without any notice, cut off 5.6 million veterans of benefits, veterans who were veterans between the Korean War and the Vietnam War. And we felt that it was unconscionable. That second seizure of the Statue of Liberty still holds the record for 18 hours. In 1972, the last patrol, beginning in several different areas of the country. VVAW started a car caravan that would eventually meet in Miami at the 1972 Republican Convention. And at that Republican Convention, we would march through the streets showing VVAW's opposition to the war, the continuing war, and to the Nixon administration. And the March to the Fontainebleau is considered one of the all-time famous anti-war marches, as over 5,000 Vietnam veterans marched to the Fontainebleau Hotel and cornered Nixon and his cronies in their luxury suites. Marching with us, obviously, were a lot of our brothers, and a lot of them were disabled and had been wounded in a lot of ways that we're seeing with our younger brothers and sisters now in Iraqi Vietnam Veterans Against the War. And with us that day was a writer named Hunter Thompson, and his article that he wrote in Rolling Stone excuse me, about that march. Whenever I review it, it never fails to, well, I mean, look, just thinking about it, what it does to me now. But it was an incredible thing, as 5,000 Vietnam Veterans Against the War opposed Nixon's 6 Vietnam veterans for a just peace inside the convention. And everyone remembers the activities of Ron Kovic that day, and how it's been shown in film, and the things that he and the other brothers that forced their way onto the convention floor had to face, and yet the way it helped turn the tide of that war. We marched, probably our largest march ever was the second Nixon inaugural. It was a brutally cold, muddy day. We marched in Washington. Many of the brothers wanted to break out of the march and go to the Ruta March, where they could do God knows what to Nixon when he went by, but we held discipline. And on that day, we signed a giant People's Peace Accords there in the park. And the brothers and sisters that came that day froze themselves, but we maintained discipline and showed a larger anti-war movement that we could exist solely as an organization on our own principles. These national actions are chronicled in film and in print and in so many ways, but they didn't occur simply because VVAW existed. Robert J. Lifton didn't come to us simply because to begin the concept of post-traumatic stress disorder among Vietnam veterans and have us start his first national study group simply because we were Vietnam veterans. People needed answers, And we provided answers, we provided action, and we provided results. Thousands of people came to these events because brothers and sisters individually in small towns and chapters and small places across the country gave their sweat and their blood and their tears, and in some cases, their lives. Leafleting, selling newspapers, picket lines, demonstrations at the VA, setting up counseling centers for vets and GIs, doing that kind of work, the kind of work that showed we are more than a talking bullshit organization. We will provide for ourselves and we will provide for others. We will serve the people. We are activists. Activist means work, and work is what built this organization from the ground up, and work is what continues to build this organization and support our younger brothers and sisters in the other organizations today. The GI work, always one of my favorite activities, showed the kind of dedication of individuals standing out at the gates, military installations, working tirelessly, following up on contacts with active duty GIs, reaching out to the active duty GIs. All the way back then, guys like Mark Rovick and Ray Parrish, people who were GI people from the very beginning and have worked for GIs in their blood, and never forget it. Even in the interim periods when there are no conflicts, though I'm hard-pressed to think of when that might be. These people are out there day and night. VVAW didn't do it alone. There was a GI movement. There were other people doing GI organizing, other people doing GI work, and believe me, we've been in a lot of coalitions. Coalitions are hard work. Coalitions are a major pain in the ass. But they have to go forward. They have to go forward. We have to always work with as many people. Coalitions have to be built as broadly and as deeply as possible. And then, you know, doesn't mean you got to go drinking and dancing with them afterwards, but you've got to learn to work. Well, yeah, who can't? But you've got to learn to do that work. And that had a lot to do with the success of ours and GI work and the whole GI movement in general. Believe me, there would not have been VVAW chapters in Japan and Okinawa and the Philippines and Germany and France and Sweden aboard ships and in places just incomprehensible if we hadn't done that work. And obviously we couldn't be everywhere. But when you do the work, when you are the activists, when you get the results, people will unite with you and people will work with you and people will join you.